Chair pose again. Just developing a little heat. Couple of things to remember. So remember, your hand placement may be different. I want you to wiggle your toes. Your weight's on your heels. You're really back here in your bum. So yes, okay, good. Thanks. Need to know. All right, so volume is good. You're good to go. Hands up. Just developing a little bit of heat. Now, I want you to hold this heat. We're going to go into prayer balancing pose. So what I have right now is my right arm on the outside of my left knee. What I want you to make sure when you get here is you're using it for leverage. So I'm keeping my spine, I'm actually leveraging and really pushing so I can get length in the spine. Don't round. And I'm keeping my knees as level and even as I can. So you're getting a little spine rotation and developing some more heat in your hips, right? Now I'm going to go away from you and do the same thing and get that prayer pose over here. So focus down. If you feel like, okay, I don't have balance, this is your focal point. Feel like you can look to the side, go there. Keep the weight in the heels. And if you can look up, great. And then inhale, come up, dive forward. Now that gets a little fatiguing. I don't know about you, but for me, yes or no? So press down, lift the tailbone up. So you want to be thinking of taking that tailbone, those sit bones, and lifting them to the ceiling. Almost impossible, but you're going to feel a much better stretch that way. And then release, come all the way up. Good. And relax. So right now, should have a little bit more heat, even fatigue going on through the hip. That's the idea. So now we're going to work on opening it up with this next one. Inhale. And sit in that chair pose. Now as you come into that prayer balancing pose, you're right here. If you can, from here, you're going to step back. And you might want to put your hand here, and you can take both hands and put them on the floor if you need to. But what I want you to do is step back with some strength, okay? So once you are back, you're going to hold this right here. What I'd love for you to do is to drop your hips down, but push back through that back heel. So you're really opening up through the groin, if you will, opening up your hip flexor and probably feeling the stretch here through the hamstring and the hip as well, and still leveraging. So I want you to think about, are you just settling in and laying on that leg? I want you to lift up, open up, and lengthen. Everything right now is alive. Hold that thought. If you feel like, okay, I've got some room, you can take this hand down and bring this one up. That's a lot of Gumby, okay? A lot of mobility here. If you don't have that, that's okay. Take your hand down. What I want you to do now is take that back foot, slide it back a little further. Drop your knee to the floor and put the top of your foot on the floor. So actually put some weight on the top of that foot. Lengthen forward, drop your shoulders down, opening up the hips here. So you really want to let your hip go through. Lengthen up and out of your ribs, pull them away from your hips. What you're going to do is walk this foot over to the other side of your mat, if you're on a mat, and drop down to your hip, and then pause here. Okay, so option one, just be aware of how does this feel for you. If there's a good stretch down here, right around this glute and hip, stay right there. You're doing enough, okay? If you feel like that gets easier as you've held it, I want you to come down, but as you do it, lengthen your spine. So don't crave in, lengthen forward to come down. And a couple things of awareness. This straight leg, try to keep that top of the thigh facing down. Don't let it turn out toward your back wall or toward the wall away from you. Try to keep your knee down so you're as linear and parallel to the mat as possible, Now, while you're here, this may be another big stretch, so you're fine. But if you need to take one more little sip of stretch, inhale, lengthen your chest and sternum forward, and then exhale, and go ahead and either stay here or take your head and drop it to your hands. Relax your shoulders, take a few deep breaths right here. And what's happening as you relax, gravity's doing all the work, right? So this hip and glute and the piriformis are loosening up, relaxing, and opening up just a little bit. And those of you that have got some hip issues, especially on this side maybe, you're really feeling something going on. But try to keep the neck and the head relaxed. I want you to look up, support your hands. You're going to take that back foot, curl your toes under if you can. Lift up and come back. I'm going to have you walk your feet in. Just do a downward facing dog. So you're going to lift the hip, drop the head, and send your heels down into the floor. Toes are light. Little shoulder opener, not much. Okay. Depending on who you are. Now, we're going to go to the other side. So I want you to take your other foot forward. And I was trying to do the same one twice. Right? So, on this side, with one leg forward, you're going to take the other one out to the side and away from you. A little tip here. If you're feeling like you're really wobbly, move your foot a little bit more to the side so you're not so on a balance beam with your feet. You have a little space between them. And then come over into that prayer balancing pose and get length through your spine. And I want you to straighten that back hip, push into the heel, and then drop your hips to the floor and look up or down or to the side and rotate. Keep the length through that spine, but keep the rotation happening. Long, long spine. And again, on this side, if you have room, this hand can come down and the other one up on the other side of that leg. Keep breathing. And then release. Hands are on either side of your foot and your mat. Back leg here comes down to the ground. Take the top of your foot down. Put a little weight on it. And then you're going to walk this foot over to your other hand or to the side of the mat. Support yourself as you come down. In this position, there shouldn't be any pressure on your knees. So if there is, I want you to back off. And this might not be your stretch, okay? Come down if you can. Stay up if you need to. Remember, the top of this thigh facing down as much as you can. It's going to want to turn out a little bit. Lengthen forward, sternum out. And then you decide if you can come down, you're going to rest your forehead right on your back of your hands. Couple deep breaths in, try to take one long stretch, one more time forward, and then exhale in. And then look up and relax. Easily walk your hands back up. That back foot, the toe curls under. Lift up. Send your foot backward. Place your hands in. You can go ahead and just drop your knees down and in. You can take your knees wide to the side, or you can leave them in narrow. But I want you to sit back into a child's pose. And either, again, you're going to drop your forehead in on top of your hands, or forehead to the mat and down. So it's a nice release for your lower back. Open your hips back up. come back up to support you. Curl from the base of your spine up through your back. This bothers your knees, you just roll right off to the side right away. And then relax.